Okay, I'm going to show the Salty Dog Rods version of putting finish on a rod. The first coat, I'm going to mix up, this is classic heavy build. Mix up 4 cc's of each. You always want to kind of mix at least 3 cc's of each, that way you get an equal amount of both and catalyzes right. Now a lot of guys are real careful stirring it up. I don't really worry about it. So you see there's bubbles in there. We'll deal with those later. Just get it mixed up real good. You can tell it's mixed when you quit seeing swirls and it's totally clear. Okay. Well, put a rod in. This is going to be the first coat. Over just thread, there's no NCP or no color preserve or anything on here. I like to use a big brush. You get it on quick and even, and a flat brush, because I don't see any sense in using a round brush on a round rod. Those little yellow flex coat brushes, in my opinion, are worthless. I use them for stir sticks. Now this brush is a little bit large. Now I started the skinny end, so the stuff is still pretty liquid and I'm not having to work around these little guides. But it's kind of a big brush for this, but you just use a corner of the brush. Just use a piece of it. And all you're trying to do is get it on evenly. I go lengthways first. And then drag it back into the tunnel. Whatever's run down on this other side, I kind of level it off. And like I said, use the corner of the brush and just get it on there. Get a nice clean edge. Moving on down, as they get bigger, it'll be easier to control this big brush. You hear people talking about certain rod finishes level better than others, which is kind of nonsense. When the epoxy's in a liquid form, liquid by its nature levels out. What happens when people get a lumpy finish is they're playing with it too long and it starts to set up a little bit. So instead of putting on like a paint consistency, they're trying to brush on peanut butter, and then naturally that's not going to level out. So you got a little bow in this blank, which makes it a little funnier to get a clean edge on the end. It actually might not be a bow in the blank. I've got a bow in the wall that this thing is bolted to, so like I said, lengthways first, then I drag some in the center, fill up the tunnels, and I get my end and go back into what I've already done sideways. The trick is just getting it on there while everything's still flowing good. I can usually mix up 16 cc's, 16 to 18 cc's, and get 3 rods coated before it gets too sticky to work with. And that's with the classic high build. Now there's others that set up quicker that I can't do that with, but this one I can mix up enough to do 3 rods complete. See, with this big flat brush, you can really get a coat on everything. And you're not playing around with it with a little brush and then everything starts setting up on you. And now you should be able to see a little better on the bigger guides. Dragging it sideways and just kind of scrape it off on the guide foot and let it run to the other side. See the other side, now you got a couple of runs there. Just kind of blend them off. Start on the end, work into where you're. Now this is just the first coat too. I generally put 3 coats on. After this coat dries, check it out. If there's any thread tags showing, you kind of razor blade them off and then do this exact same thing. And after 3 coats of this stuff, it usually looks pretty darn good. Like I said, this is the first coat. It's kind of like a prime coat. You'll notice it's soaking into the threads a little bit, and the next coat will build a little bit. Okay, now I'm getting down into the decorative part, or in this case just the label, and I just mop on a good heavy coat horizontally. And the trick is just to make sure every spot is covered. Don't leave any little holidays. Okay, then do your ends, and then I kind of just go over the whole thing and even it out. Now after 3 coats, you won't see that dip anymore where the bands are. Okay, from there, what I do is fire up my heat gun, let that get warming up. Put this up in the dryer. And then clean my brush up while that's heating up. Now I reuse this brush. I can use it for a couple of months before it goes bad. This is a cup of Zylol, not acetone, Zylol. And the beauty of this stuff is it doesn't evaporate. It's oily and it's made for cutting epoxy. So I just get it rinsed off good and leave that brush sitting in there. When I get ready to do more rods tomorrow, I'll blow that out with compressed air, blow all the stuff out of it, start over, do the same thing. Okay, this thing, I actually did 3 rods before I got going on this one, so I'm going to start up here. And this just pretty much takes the foam or the bubbles out. And you can get pretty aggressive with this thing until you kind of see it liquefy under the guide feet and stuff. I like this because it doesn't scorch it. Like a torch will scorch these sometimes and then it'll ruin the finish spot. But that's basically it. This is the way we do it at Salty Dog Rods. Like I said, use a big brush, get it on quickly. When it starts acting like peanut butter or cake frosting, throw it out and start over, because that's when it will not level anymore.